Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Rodrigo, and today I'm going to show you a simulator that I built for Lies of P. So you can use this simulator to check how your character will look like on Lies of P, depending how much points you put on each of the abilities, and then their effects on the other stats. Uh, so I will put this, I will show this, and then I will put the link because I will upload this to my GitHub. So you can also download this later and play around with the simulator. I'm gonna share my screen in a bit. Now you're probably going to start seeing my screen, some black parts. So this is the simulator here. And for example, you have these abilities here, and then by each on this of light yellow cells, you can adjust the values, and you will see the effects of on the other stats here. So for example, vitality points increase health points. So if you increase this from 35 to 40, you can see the numbers changing here and also here, right? So how you use this, you put how many points you want on each of these stats. I will walk from to them later. And then you see how big is your level up and how much does it requires to further increase after this and the effect of each of these. So first, we're going to talk a little bit how it works, this simulator, how to use this. I go around each of the abilities here. Then we will deep dive on how scaling works, and then at the end, I will give some hints and tips of how I manage this and how I did my 2 playthroughs on this game. So first of all, how each ability works. So for example, Vitality, it works for health points. So as how much you increase here, you increase your health points, and also guard regain. And Vigor is the main determining ability, let's say from stamina. So if you need more stamina, increase your vigor. And then capacity is your carrying capacity. So if you want to use better equipment with higher defense stats, you will want to increase your capacity as well. And then this also affects your how you are, let's say, dealing with the weight. So for example, you can be light or you can be normal, slightly heavy, heavy, or super heavy. I also have a video about this, and then you can check how each of these stats looks like on movement speed and also damage. I will put the link somewhere here. Please check this later. Maybe you will enjoy it. Uh, Motivity is, let's say, the strength of your character. So if you want to use the bigger weapons, you should invest more on motivity, and technique is for dexterity. So if you want to use lighter weapons that you hit more faster but with few lower damage, then technique is the way to go. And advance is like magic, let's say, magic points. It scales and increases the damage for some weapons, only a couple of weapons that have this elemental damage attribute. For example, this one here, this second weapon here, that I put the circular electric saw. It does electric damage, and then you have the base damage and the electric damage here, the elemental damage here. So first of all, let's take a look on the ergo. So when you start going on the Lies of P, you increase your level. It's like a exponential thing. And then around, let's say, level 784, it starts on 6,000. Then it's go practically linear, only increase by 1 extra ergo. Then here on level, let's say 150, around that, it starts to increase more, let's say 128, 129 by each level, up to 200 something here, like 213, where it starts to increase by 75 on each level. I'm assuming here that it will still remain, let's say, constant, 75 for each level. So if you want to go to the maximum level, which is 561, then you will need, let's check here, 1,059, 5,900 and so on, ergo. It's a way long way to go. I don't recommend it. As I said, I stopped at like something like here, like 200, level 221, something like that was my final build on the character when I stopped playing this game after finishing, let's say, my second playthrough. And how each of these stats work, for example. So vitality points, they will increase your health points, your guard regain, and the percentage of the guard regain, and also your physical and fire, electrical blitz, and acid resistance. So if we increase here and here, if you want, you can see by each level how it affects your stats. Here is by each level, and then the overall value, the delta on each of these levels, and here is the accumulated delta. Vigor affects your stamina, also physical, fire, electric damage. So if you want, maybe it's easier to go here. For example, if you want to increase your health points, then vitality is the way to go. If you want to increase your stamina, vigor. If you want to increase your legion, let's say if you want to use more your legion arm, then you can increase capacity or also advance. Weight is only capacity, and capacity is weight is the only stat, let's say, that increases linearly up to the end. So the maximum value here is 100. So each point you put here increases the health capacity by 3.5 kilos. Guard regain is only by vitality, and this is, let's say, correlated, the percentage with this number. And if you want to increase the defense, your physical defense is increased by pretty much all of the abilities except advance. And then fire, electrical blitz, and acid defense, all of the elements or the abilities. And then the resistance of that is only increased by advance. And then disruption is also only by advance, and shock and break is also related to this, is the same. So only advance can increase your resistance. Here, I'm not considering any of the equipment that you can put, like rings and defense parts, but then you only add up to this value here. So this value plus your equipment. If we continue here, this is capacity, as I mentioned. So you can see it goes by 78 kilos up to 390 kilos, the end. Then motivity it will helps you deal more damage, also technique, but I will deep dive on this on the scaling part. So wait, please be a little bit patient. And as I said, advanced, which govern the magic attributes and magical resistance and also magic damage, let's say. Uh, and then scale on this scaling in this is very important. So for example, here you can select the weapons that you want to use. And here you have the blade and also the handle of your weapon. And this will affect the how it impacts each of the scaling of this and how it affects your damage here, for example. So let me set one thing. Uh, okay. I thought I have breaking this, but not. So for example, this bunny cutting saw blade, and here you can change the handle here. So I'm using this one on the weapon list. So for example, overall, if you don't put any crank, it will be B on motivity and D on technique. And here I'm already outputting what is the best crank. And this I'm considering that you have equal values on motivity and technique. And I will explain this a little bit later for you. So if you increase, for example, here is no handle. So if you put technique, you will increase technique by 1 and decrease motivity by 1. And so it's better to have C and C than to have D and B. And this is the bonus damage that you get using this amount of motivity and technique here. And then advance is only works with this elemental damage weapons, for example, the circular electric saw, that you have this base damages here. So if you put advance, you increase this by 1 and don't decrease anything else. So if you don't use any handle, it will be D, D, and A. And if you put the advanced handle, then you go to scale, S scale, which is the best one. And then, for example, as it is, you have 136 base damage on level 10, plus 60 bonus damage on physical, and then 122 on elemental damage, plus 50 bonus elemental damage. And how scale works, so if depending on the scaling, let's say from nothing up to S, you have this factor. And this factor, you multiply this by the damage of your weapon on the first level without any upgrades. So for example, let's take this as this bunny cutting saw blade. So motivity and technique here is C, right? So, and 304, so basically on the level 1 is half of that, so 150. So if we go here, it will be 150 times 1.53 if it's S, but it's C, so 0.8. So let's do this. So equal to 152, oops, sorry, times 0.81. So you have at most this impact, and this go here by 0 times how many points, let's say, you have. So you can go up to from nothing, let's say if you don't have any points, up to 100%. And here is interesting and a good tip for you already. So you should not invest up to 100 points on each stats, let's say on motivity and technique. The advice that I can give to you is if you, on the first playthrough, you choose a weapon that you like, and then you put more points on motivity or technique or whatever has a higher scale from this weapon. And then I would say to you to go up to 60 at most. Don't spend more than that. Because, for example, if you go to level 40, then it's better to already start increasing your others stats. For example, if you go from motivity on the beginning, then you put more point on technique. This way we will have more damage on the bonus for your weapon. So for example, here from 0 to 20 you already have 40% of the bonus, and then up to 40 you get 78% of the bonus. If you increase this further, you only earn 15% here. Let's say 1450, and then from here, from 60 to 80, you only increase by 5%. And then onwards only 3%, so it doesn't make a sense to increase further than 60. So this is why, for example, in my playthrough, I stopped at 50 on both motivity and technique. So you can have more of the output. Here you have the weapon list, so you base damage on physical and elemental damage on level 1, and also the elemental damage, level 1 and max level. Type of the elemental damage, acidic, fire, electro blitz, how it scales from motivity, technique, and advance. And as I said, I also calculate here what is the best rank considering here, for example, I'm putting 40 on each motivity and technique, but doesn't matter. I'm assuming you're putting equal weights or equals points on motivity and technique. So for example, this one, overall, if you have elemental damage weapon, it's better to use the elemental handle, the technique, no, advanced handle. Other than that, maybe the best advice that I can give to you, if you look here by scaling, is to have kind of equal values. So for example, if you have A and D weapon, doesn't make, for example, if you put some add here, you have 1.8 bonus. So it doesn't make sense to use a handle that will give to you S and nothing, because then it will have lower bonus. Instead of 1.8, we have 1.53. Or you have something like A and D, which is 1.83. Maybe it's better if you can have B and C, because then you have 1.89. See, so it's better to maybe reduce the best scaling so you can have, let's say, a balance between motivity and technique. So something like BB or BC is better than to have A and D or S and nothing, for example. Another thing that you need to take a look, need to take a look is on the weighting. So you don't want to be is maybe slightly heavy, okay, because you only have a slightly reduction on your movement and dodging, but more than that is too bad. And when you start your third playthrough, you have some P organ upgrade where you can increase the uh, the hurdle, let's say, from 60% carrying weight to be, instead of being normal, it will be light on 60, and then you can go up, think up to 80, and you still be slightly, it will be normal. So then you can carry more weapons. So this is good. Uh, but over than that, as I said, please don't abuse on any of these stats, because most of them you have bigger gains on the beginning, and then they kind of uh, reduce. For example, here, if you want to, we can create a graph here quickly. I cannot see it. Ah, maybe here. No, not this graph. Sorry. I wanted to build this graph here. As I said, so all of this, most of the stats have this curve shape. So have the biggest gains on the beginning, and then they start giving diminishing returns, like some soft caps. So it's better to have a balanced build at the end. So in the beginning, you focus on what you need most. But then when I was evolving here, for example, I put as much as I needed on capacity. You also have some rings that can increase your weighting capacity, because I try to be normal, at the edge of normal. Then I was pumping motility up to 50, and then technique, and then I was playing around with whatever I needed most, for example, vitality or vigor. And then I put a little bit on advanced just to have something, let's say, but it was not something that I was using a lot. And I think advanced doesn't make a lot of sense to have a build on advanced. Maybe I haven't tried, but I don't think it works, because you have only let's say, 5 or 6 different weapons, and you have this split between physical damage and also elemental damage. So you need to split your abilities in 3 different stats and not only 2, let's say motive and technique, to have this equal. Then you need to split then in 3 different abilities. So I don't think it's worth, but if you want, you can try. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you want, please like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, comment if you like it or if you didn't like something. I hope you see you next time, and hope you have enjoyed. See you next time. Bye bye. Oh, this is me. I should have stopped sharing earlier. So thank you. Bye bye.